G'day guys. I wonder what this could be about. This video. It's about the gold monster. And if you remember back, I did some work on the circuit boards of the gold monster, and I really wanted to get in and do some work on the coils. And eventually we got hold of a couple of coils, but I've only pulled one apart. And I tell you what, it was an absolute nightmare to get apart. And I'll go through why. First of all, the best bit and the easiest bit to get off is the skid plate, not a problem. The bottom, well, separate the halves of the coil. I had to drill holes in it. And the reason being is that they've injection molded mounts. That's a boo-boo. I thought there was one in the middle. There wasn't. It's just the injection mold. Just a little divot. We'll call it a divot, a depression. And it just looked like, like it was molded. But where these four here, it's nearly impossible to see where they are. But by trying to lever this off and pull the coil apart, it started showing little stress divots where these were, and they're a little bit further on than what the hole is. I don't know if you can see there. They were plastic welded right across on the other side of there. So even in the middle, drilling in the middle of these things, I still had to lever around the outside perimeters, to get this off. And that was an absolute nightmare. I tried everything. I couldn't work out. I ended up getting a tool in there, and I could feel bang, 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 bang. I was hitting into those plastic pillars. So the only way to get rid of them was drill them out. Now, the more interesting side of the coil is here. This is the coil. You can see how thick those... I'll get something to poke with. Okay. You can see that plastic there. And you can probably see that one there very clearly. That's what these things are. I think what they do is one's probably a male, one's probably a female. They slide into each other and they're glued with some, glue from hell. I don't know what glue they use, but my God, it's strong. And they're there. So as you can see, I had to drill through and take these out. You can see where I made a bit of a boo-boo on this one. It didn't cause any damage. I just came through with the drill tip and just touched there, and right next to the ground wire, the earthing wire, the real thin one there, which is actually it's been stuck on with these, they just melted the plastic over it. There and there. So that's that part of the coil. And if you have a look, it's this part here is, it says it's got written on it ABS. I take it some sort of ABS plastic. It is extremely brittle. So if you try to do anything with it, you'll come unstuck. I think it will just snap. The assembly, it's got these slide lock points. The wide gap here, and it goes narrow, and this is on this piece of plastic here is on the far away side, and I think they go together and it just slides down, and that's how it locks. And then they go around and put glue on everything so nothing moves. Now if we have a look here, what do we got? We got a coil here, It's like a double D, but it's got a decent space between it, coil to coil. I think this is the receive coil. The receive coil's closer to the ground. There was a reason why I think that. Why is that? Hang on a second. Oh, where was it? I think it was written on there somewhere. It said, no, hang on, sorry, wrong, I'm wrong. You can just see in the light, if you hold on the right way, don't know if you can see it on the camera, here, TX, that's a transmit coil. I would have thought so. I wouldn't put the receive coil very close to the ground if you go two coil configuration. It just might make the ground, reactive ground, more reactive to the closeness of the coil. You could swap these around. I think you'd probably find Minelab's done some experiments or past history and said that goes there and that one goes there. Under the board, as you know, this is not any type of coaxial cable. It's just, well, to me it looks like twisted pairs. It's hard to see in there. Hang on, I'll get it. You can see down the bottom there. Don't know if it'll focus, but there's twisted pairs and a single white wire, twisted pairs of green and orange and whatever else is down there, red and yellow, I think it is. And they'll just be using a pair, most likely as a transmit driver. I don't know if they've got actually the transmit output stage on the board in here. There is a circuit board in here. But from what I can see and what I do know from someone else who pulled one of these apart, they sent me the pictures on it, is that there's an analog to digital converter IC sitting in there, and I think that square thing, for memory, I think it might be a dual differential preamp. I think I did look it up and found it, but neither here nor there. So yeah, if you start really going hard on these things and pulling them apart, this boot here is hard glued in. You can see the yellow glue in there. That's hard as, very, very hard. And the only way to get rid of that, you would probably have to cut the wires. What I would do if I want to do a full examination of this, you want to keep your color coding. So I'd cut the wires very, very close to the yellow, so I know what goes to the board, and then I would probably have to do something with this boot. I don't know if you can get it apart. They've got like a rubber glue all the way down the cable onto this, and it probably won't come out. If you could move it, you'd probably have to hit this with, I don't know if it would even work, like punch it out or something. Punch the glue out. I don't know if it would even move. I don't know what sort of glue it is in there, that yellow stuff, but it really sticks. So doing anything from this point onwards might be very detrimental if I can't get it back together. But I tell you, I did find some interesting things. So yeah, it's a complete change in the way these VLF detectors work, being that it's processed inside the coil and sent up to the detectors as just a data stream of numbers, basically. So that's how it works. Well, I have this multimeter here. The reason I've got it here because it's got a backlight in it, so you'll be able to see it. If I get the coil, and I'll wiggle this down a bit, you'll try to. Hang on a second. I'll give it a wiggle down. Oh, yeah, you can see one or the other, but stay on backlight. I got this thing on 2000 ohms, and oh dear, how am I going to do this? Okay, the coil. Looks like plastic, doesn't it? Well, plastic shell for the coil. Well, if I get that backlighting doesn't stay on very long, does it? But if I get onto the plastic of that plastic there you go. Oh, it was reading, and then it stopped. Come back, light work. But if you can see on the meter there, I've got it on a 2K ohm range. Yeah, it's 100 ohms per centimetre. If I push really hard on the plastic, it will change and move around. But as you can see there, it's bouncing around 100 ohms or so. So that is how they're doing their shielding. It's got obviously some sort of graphite, carbon, or other polymetallics of some description somehow impregnated in the plastic. So you look at the thickness of it. It's held in by this plastic holder here, which is all glued down. And I think that if you try to pop it out, you just break all these little plastic holders. They're very, very brittle. And you could, it's probably got very thin wires underneath here going to the coil onto the board. You probably break those as well. So, this is a sacrificial lamb, this coil. It can be made to work again. And the real reason I wanted to pull this apart and get in there was when I had a look at the pictures what someone sent me about the board. I can't really show that too much, otherwise I'll rip the wires out. I don't want to do that. But the circuit board itself, I saw on the other side of it, it had a sort of like a diamond or a crosshatch pattern, and that would be an attempt to not have such a big conductive massive copper in the coil. But what I wanted to do, and this is just an experiment and an educational experiment, right? Not saying anything about anyone doing anything wrong or anything like that. But what I wanted to do was take the board out, and I've got some conductive, or it's conductive. It's resistive, absorptive. Is that the word? Some sheet, and it is supposed to. Well, there's different ones, and they have different frequencies of, where they have maximum attenuation at a given set of frequencies. And I wanted to actually encase that board in this material and see if there was any benefit in isolating it from the transmit and receive fields from the coil, and just see if it would be better on hot ground or hot rocks, anything of that nature. But so far it was a real job getting it to here, and it might be asking too much, ripping it to pieces. I think if you're going to rip these to pieces and do some work on them, you want to have spare coil shells. And I know there's a place in America, I'm in the US, that sells coil shells. Can't remember the name, but they do have coil shells, blank ones, not specifically for this, but they got small ones, 5 and 6 inch ones. You could probably jerry rig it and stick it all together. But that's what that is. Yeah, 2 coils shaped as a double D in conductive plastic, and I'm just looking to see if they actually join the conductive plastic together, or just have a common earth wire, just a little earth wire and nothing else. I can't see. The other thing is too, with this glue here, this yellow glue, I mean, this is really hard, and to break that off, you'll break the plastic. It has got some soft, waxy glue, which I did actually get some out of here, but it's very close to that earth wire. I don't want to rip it out, but it's a bit softer. It may, you know, you might be able to put some heat on it, you know, for hot air, not a hot air gun, but, you know, maybe 150 degrees and see if it comes out. It's in here as well. If you can see that in there, it's very soft. I can actually, you know, push the screwdriver, that's that one there, into it, and it stays there. So yeah, you could probably get that out, a bit of a work through. These things here, they're just very soft, sticky rubber pads. I think it just to stop microphonics or any sort of tap on the coil. You can see here they've got holes in the rubber pads, and they've got little plastic tabs which they probably push down to. It just stops things moving around and keeps it all nice and tight. It's quite a good design, and from my opinion, they're not repairable. If it fails, it's sort of like a throwaway, unless you want to, you know, rebuild it. Big job. It is a big job, but you could learn a lot by just, you know, if you really went the hog on it, you could, you know, completely remove all the plastic, get the board out separate, leave it all connected, and you could probably move these two coils in relation to each other, see if there's a null you can get. You know, the way it works, it's pretty hard. I'm saying a null, it's basically an analog to digital converter in it, but you'd have to read the data and know what was what. And you know, you could probably do fine tunes and get a null point, and you know, just try some, you know, maybe an extended conductive plate or something off this side of the double D over here. Just see if you could remove some ground effect if it is a problem. Don't know. Never tested it. Only guessing, just an opinion. So this is more educational than knowing anything that's going on with this. But you know, if you're brave and you want to get it apart, drill the holes in it like so, and it's also glued around the edge here. You're going to have to get a sharp implement. Don't stab yourself in the leg, which I nearly did. But I went around there with a knife inside the groove there, and yeah, then I couldn't work out why it wouldn't come apart. All the other calls I've ever done in my life over 20 years have all popped apart, and this one just refused. Then I could see or feel the pillars that were here, and you know, then I worked out where they were. I pulled on it a bit, and I could see the little marks, little dimples starting to form, and so I put a 10mm drill through it. Be very careful if you drill it too. You don't want to, definitely don't do the where I did in the middle, because you'll go through the coil. But if you look here where they actually are, there's nothing there. You just go straight down on these. The way these come apart too, I'd probably use maybe a 12mm drill, something a little bit bigger. You could patch up the holes in the coil in that part there. You could patch those up. You patch them up on the inside, and just get some epoxy putty on the other side, smooth it over, and you know, it'd be good again. And yeah, it's a bit chewed up on the outside there. It came away hard. I think I also also slipped with the knife there as well. So, like I say, this was a sacrificial lamb, this coil. But as it is, it would still work, and you could definitely play and experiment with it. So I'm going to say thanks to the person. Don't know if they want their name said. I won't say anything for the time being. I probably won't say anything at all. I don't know. Maybe they don't want to be have their name advertised anywhere, but for the person who got me the coil, thank you very much. Anyway, that's that. Can we do anything with it? Possibly. There's a lot of work in doing something. It's going to take, to get that apart properly without damaging anything, I'd say there's a day's work in it. So is it worth it? But, you know, if I did have other coil shells, aftermarket ones, I could probably make my own, actually, come to think of it. I've got a vacuum former. Make these up and just all this brittle plastic, just cut it, just cut all the way around where the glue points are, you know, snap it off with some needle nose pliers and rip it apart, cut the wires, redo, you know, cut the boot off. You're only going to lose an inch if you do that anyway in length. There's not really anything to worry about with the coil wire. And put in another housing. I'll have to talk to the owner of the Gold Monster and see if they're interested. But at this present time, I think they want their Gold Monster back. They want to get out there and use it. And, you know, it came with the coil, so I can actually do some testing. But I really think at this point, this might be as far as I go with the coils. Unless, you know, if you got your own out there and you're feeling brave, I'm not stopping you, but, you know, you might stuff it. You might send it to the detector coil god in the sky, never work again. But yeah, you know, if you know what you're doing, you're careful, and you know you're good with fiddly stuff, maybe you could. But I'd say you'd have to prepare to use another coil shell. Or I'll tell you what, you could 3D print this on a 3D printer, plastic printer. For sure you could. Shouldn't take that long to do, actually. I know a few people that do that sort of stuff. Yeah, anyway, you could probably 3D print this thing, but probably not needed. If you're going to muck around with it, I'll just put a, you know, something like an ice cream container lid there and glue this to it and glue that to it, and you just mount it in there with some rubber glue or something of that nature, you know, if you want to rehouse it. Anyway, food for thought. Just a lot of guesstimates and opinions. You know, the other thing too, if you look at the, I don't know if you can see too good, the coil offset there, you can see that it's actually beveled here and there. Maybe these were meant to go together, or possibly at one stage. I don't know. Maybe they, I don't know. Let me think about this. Now imagine if it wasn't an analog to digital type converter board in there, and it was just a standard, you know, two shielded wire type coil arrangement. You don't need all this plastic housing. They could have just stuck together just about, and yeah, just run some coax up to a head unit. But it's not designed that way. But you could. I don't know. Open to possibilities with this stuff. But yeah, the interesting bit really is on that little board there. That's all the important parts. I'm losing my voice again. I think one of the kids brought home some bug from school, some cough, and yeah, it's yeah, bowled me over a little bit. And the voice goes if I keep talking. So anyway, that's the Gold Monster Coil saga. I may do more with it. I will keep everyone informed. Anyway, that's all. Enough waffle. As I say, I've been waffling for 24 minutes. Catch us later.